Have you ever felt proud of yourself for eating healthy every day, adding fresh fruit to your breakfast, blending smoothies, choosing what you believed were the safest foods for your body, only to later discover that your kidneys were quietly struggling the entire time I'm asking that question? Because in my years of clinical practice, I've seen something deeply unsettling. Many patients who believed they were doing everything right were unknowingly putting dangerous stress on their kidneys simply by eating certain healthy fruits too often. And the most alarming part is this: the body rarely gives loud warning signs in the beginning. Kidney stress builds silently, slowly, and by the time symptoms appear, the damage may already be underway. My name is Dr. Mark Ellis, and today I want to talk with you about a hidden risk that very few people discuss. Some of the most common fruits found in American kitchens, foods that appear natural, refreshing, even beneficial, can quietly push potassium levels higher and place extra pressure on kidneys that are already aging or working harder than they should. When potassium begins to rise in the blood, the effects are not always obvious at first. A little fatigue, a slight flutter in the chest, trouble sleeping, occasional muscle weakness symptoms, many people dismiss as normal aging. But behind those subtle signals, the body may be struggling to maintain a delicate balance that the kidneys are responsible for protecting every single minute of the day. That doesn't mean fruit is the enemy. In fact, many fruits can support health when eaten wisely. The real issue is which fruits, how much, and when, because the wrong choices repeated every day can quietly overload the body's filtration system. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 very common fruits that can become surprisingly stressful for the kidneys when they are not consumed carefully. More importantly, I'll show you how to enjoy fruit in a way that protects your kidneys instead of overworking them. And stay with me until the end, because one fruit on this list is often considered completely harmless, yet in certain people with weakened kidney function, it has caused some of the most serious reactions doctors have documented. Let's take a closer look at what your kidneys may be trying to tell you before it's too late. Let's start with a fruit that many people consider one of the healthiest snacks in the world: bananas. Soft, convenient, naturally sweet, and packed with nutrients, bananas are a staple in millions of American households. Athletes eat them for energy, seniors enjoy them because they're easy to digest, and many doctors even recommend them for heart health. But here's the detail most people never hear. Bananas are also one of the most potassium-dense fruits you can eat. In fact, a single medium banana contains around 400 milligrams of potassium. For a healthy adult with strong kidney function, that usually isn't a problem. The kidneys simply filter the excess and maintain balance. But when kidney function begins to decline, which often happens gradually after the age of 50 or 60, the body may no longer process potassium as efficiently as it once did. I once spoke with a patient who ate 2 bananas every morning with his breakfast smoothie, believing he was making the healthiest choice possible. Months later, his lab results showed potassium levels creeping higher than expected. Nothing dramatic, no pain, no clear warning, just a slow imbalance building quietly beneath the surface. And that's what makes potassium tricky. When levels rise, the symptoms are often subtle: mild fatigue, muscle weakness, or a slightly irregular heartbeat that's easy to ignore. But inside the body, the heart and kidneys are already working harder to restore balance. But knowing this about bananas alone isn't enough, because another fruit often eaten just as casually can put even greater pressure on the kidneys if you're not careful. Now let's talk about another fruit that many people associate with sunshine summer and healthy living: mangoes. Sweet, fragrant, and loaded with vitamins, mangoes are often praised as a superfruit. They contain vitamin A for eye health, vitamin C for immunity, and antioxidants that help the body fight inflammation. On the surface, it sounds like the perfect food. But when kidney function is already under pressure, the story becomes a little more complicated. A single medium mango can contain over 500 milligrams of potassium. For someone with strong kidney function, that amount is usually manageable. But for people whose kidneys are aging or already weakened, potassium can start accumulating faster than the body can remove it. And the real risk doesn't usually come from one fruit alone, it comes from patterns. I remember speaking with a retired teacher who loved mango season. Every afternoon, she would slice a whole mango as a light snack, believing it was far healthier than processed desserts. But during a routine checkup, her doctor noticed something unusual. Her potassium levels were slowly trending upward. When we reviewed her diet, it became clear that the daily mango combined with other potassium-rich foods was quietly tipping the balance. What makes this tricky is that mangoes don't feel dangerous. They taste natural, refreshing, even harmless. Yet when eaten frequently, especially alongside foods like bananas, coconut water, or beans, the total potassium load can climb surprisingly fast. Research in renal nutrition shows that people with reduced kidney filtration often need to keep daily potassium intake within a controlled range, sometimes around 2,000 milligrams per day, depending on medical guidance. One generous serving of mango already represents a significant portion of that amount. This doesn't mean mangoes must disappear from your diet entirely. In many cases, the smarter approach is portion awareness, a few slices, instead of a whole fruit, and not combining multiple high-potassium foods in the same meal. Small adjustments like that can make a meaningful difference in how much pressure the kidneys experience over time. But knowing this about mangoes still isn't the full picture, because there's another fruit that millions of people drink every morning, believing it boosts immunity, yet it may quietly affect kidney chemistry in ways most people never expect. Another fruit that many people start their day with, often believing it's one of the healthiest habits possible, is oranges and fresh orange juice. A glass of orange juice in the morning feels refreshing, natural, and packed with vitamin C. For decades, it has been marketed as the perfect immune-boosting drink. But when kidney function begins to decline, even this healthy routine can quietly become more complicated. One large orange contains around 330 milligrams of potassium, and a single glass of orange juice can deliver close to 450 milligrams. The difference is that juice is absorbed much faster by the body. That means potassium can enter the bloodstream quickly, sometimes faster than aging kidneys can comfortably regulate. I remember speaking with a patient who believed his morning orange juice was protecting his health. Every day without fail, he drank a full glass with breakfast. But over time, routine blood tests showed his potassium slowly creeping upward. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet imbalance building beneath the surface. There's another detail many people overlook. When vitamin C is consumed in large amounts, part of it can convert into oxalate, a compound linked to certain types of kidney stones. This doesn't mean oranges must disappear from your diet, but portion awareness matters more than most people realize. But understanding oranges is only part of the picture, because the next fruit on this list seems incredibly light and refreshing, yet it can place an unexpected burden on your kidneys, especially later in the day. After looking at fruits that quietly increase potassium intake, we come to one that almost everyone sees as harmless, refreshing, and even cleansing: watermelon. On a hot afternoon, few things feel better than a cold slice of watermelon. It's over 90% water, naturally sweet, and widely believed to flush the body. But for people with aging or weakened kidneys, that refreshing habit can sometimes create an unexpected challenge. The issue isn't just the sweetness, it's the combination of fluid load and potassium. A typical serving of about 2 cups of watermelon can contain around 300 to 350 milligrams of potassium, and because it's mostly water, people often eat far more than they realize. Unlike denser fruits, watermelon disappears quickly from the plate, making it easy to double or even triple the portion without noticing. I once spoke with a gentleman who loved eating chilled watermelon in the evening while watching television. It seemed like a harmless routine, but he began waking up several times each night to urinate. When his labs were reviewed, it turned out the late-night watermelon habit was contributing to both increased fluid strain on the kidneys and fluctuating potassium levels. When kidneys are already working harder due to age or reduced filtration, large fluid loads late in the day can disrupt the body's balance and even interfere with sleep. A smarter approach is smaller daytime portions, allowing the kidneys more time to process both fluid and minerals. But understanding watermelon is only part of the story, because another fruit often considered even healthier can deliver a far more concentrated potassium surge that many people completely overlook. Now let's move to another fruit that often appears in fruit salads, smoothies, and summer breakfasts: cantaloupe and other sweet melons. At first glance, they seem incredibly healthy. They're bright in color, naturally hydrating, rich in vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin C, and widely recommended in balanced diets. But what many people don't realize is that melons can deliver a surprisingly concentrated dose of potassium, especially when eaten in larger portions. Just 1 cup of cantaloupe contains around 430 milligrams of potassium. That may not sound alarming at first, but consider how melons are usually eaten. Few people stop at a single cup. A bowl of melon cubes at breakfast or a large fruit salad can easily double that amount without anyone noticing. I remember speaking with a patient who believed melon was one of the safest fruits she could eat. Every morning she prepared a bowl of cantaloupe and honeydew because it felt light and refreshing. But during a routine blood test, her potassium levels were slightly higher than expected. When we looked closely at her diet, the melon portions were quietly adding hundreds of milligrams of potassium day after day. The challenge with melons is that they're eaten fresh and raw, meaning their minerals are absorbed quickly into the bloodstream. For people with reduced kidney filtration, that sudden mineral load can place extra stress on the body's delicate electrolyte balance. A simple adjustment, limiting portions to about half a cup and avoiding large melon bowls, can help reduce that burden significantly. But understanding melons still doesn't reveal the full picture, because the next fruit on this list has a completely different risk, one that has nothing to do with potassium alone and everything to do with how your body processes medications. Up to this point, we've mostly talked about fruits that stress the kidneys because of potassium load. But the next fruit introduces a completely different and often overlooked danger: grapefruit. At first glance, grapefruit seems like one of the healthiest fruits you could eat. It's low in calories, rich in vitamin C, and often recommended for heart health and weight control. But inside this bright citrus fruit is a group of compounds that can quietly interfere with how your body processes certain medications. Those compounds are called furanocoumarins, and they can block an important enzyme in the digestive system known as CYP3A4. This enzyme acts like a gatekeeper that helps break down many common medications before they enter the bloodstream. When grapefruit blocks that enzyme, the body may absorb much more medication than intended, even if you're taking the exact dose your doctor prescribed. I once spoke with a patient who enjoyed a glass of fresh grapefruit juice every morning because she believed it supported her immune system. But she was also taking medication for cholesterol and blood pressure. When her doctor reviewed her routine, they realized that the daily grapefruit juice was likely increasing the concentration of those medications in her blood. Research has shown that grapefruit can interact with dozens of medications, including certain statins, blood pressure drugs, heart rhythm medications, and even some anti-anxiety treatments. For someone whose kidneys are already under stress, this interaction can create an additional layer of risk that most people never suspect. A simple solution is to avoid grapefruit close to medication times, or discuss safer fruit choices with your healthcare provider if you take prescription drugs regularly. But even grapefruit isn't the most concerning fruit on this list, because the final fruit we're about to discuss carries a risk that goes beyond potassium and drug interactions. And in people with weakened kidneys, it has triggered some of the most serious reactions doctors have ever documented. And now we arrive at the fruit that surprises most people the moment they hear about it: starfruit. In many cultures, starfruit is considered refreshing, light, and even medicinal. It's used in juices, salads, and traditional remedies, and for someone with healthy kidneys, eating a small amount usually doesn't cause problems. But when kidney function is reduced, starfruit becomes a completely different story. What makes a starfruit dangerous isn't just potassium. The fruit also contains a compound known as caramboxin, a natural neurotoxin that healthy kidneys normally filter out of the blood. When kidney filtration declines, however, this toxin can begin to accumulate in the body and affect the nervous system. Doctors first began paying close attention to this phenomenon after several unusual medical cases were reported. Patients with chronic kidney disease experienced symptoms such as persistent hiccups, confusion, vomiting, seizures, and in severe cases, even coma shortly after consuming starfruit or drinking concentrated starfruit juice. The connection was eventually traced back to the toxin that their kidneys could no longer remove efficiently. There's another concern as well. Starfruit contains high levels of oxalate, a compound that can contribute to the formation of calcium oxalate kidney stones. For someone whose kidneys are already under strain, the combination neurotoxins plus oxalates creates a risk that many people simply don't expect from a fruit that looks so harmless. This is why many nephrologists around the world strongly advise patients with moderate to advanced kidney disease to avoid starfruit entirely. What seems like a small dietary choice can have consequences that appear suddenly and escalate quickly. But here's the encouraging part. Understanding these 7 fruits doesn't mean you must fear fruit altogether. In fact, with the right knowledge and a few simple adjustments, fruit can still be enjoyed safely while protecting the long-term health of your kidneys And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one important reminder. Fruit itself is not the enemy. Nature has given us incredible foods that nourish the body, support immunity, and bring balance to our daily diet. The real key is understanding how your body changes over time. As the kidneys age, they simply need a little more care, a little more awareness, and a little more balance in the foods we choose every day. Small decisions like moderating portions, avoiding certain fruits when kidney function is reduced, and paying attention to potassium intake can make a powerful difference in protecting your kidneys for years to come. If you found this information helpful, I encourage you to save this video so you can return to it later or share it with someone who may need this knowledge. Many people don't realize how important kidney health is until problems begin to appear. And sometimes a simple piece of information shared at the right time can help someone avoid years of unnecessary complications. And if you care about protecting your health and staying informed, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Here we regularly share clear, science-based insights about kidney health, nutrition, and practical habits that can help you take control of your well-being before problems start. Most importantly, remember this: your kidneys work quietly for you every single day. When you support them with the right knowledge and thoughtful choices, you give your body one of the greatest gifts possible: a future with more energy, better balance, and a healthier life ahead. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.